Yup, I just went to Coron Palawan by myself and I wanted to share the 4 steps that allowed me to budget properly for this solo travel, so that if you also have plans to travel by yourself or maybe just travel in the future, that you'd be able to consider these 4 things so that you'd be able to enjoy your trip guilt-free and also take care of your finances at the same time. Let's go! What's up guys, it's Nick. As you know, I'm a recovered shopaholic, now a money mindset coach, empowering working professionals to fund their dreams into reality. If you've been following me on TikTok, Instagram, you know that I've shared the wonderful moments I had when I had my 5-day solo trip to Coron. And I wanted to share the experience from this trip to let you know that there isn't just one path to make your dreams happen. It doesn't have to be that you have to destroy your finances in order to enjoy your life. Like, it's about time we stop the narrative that mental health restored and finances destroyed every time we see people traveling, because we are about to debunk that right here in this video. Because if you watch my video, I shared that my new mantra, and I want you to also embody it as well, that your mental health can be restored because your finances can afford, and you can sure as hell do it again. And that's why I'm sharing actionable budgeting tips that will allow you to prepare for those travel destinations that you've always wanted to go to, but at the same time feeling good that you're secured with your finances. So if you're all about that, then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because I do have a new video every single week. Now let's get into the 4 budgeting tips that you need to take note of. By the way, just want to give a heads up that you don't want to miss step number 3, because this is the most common thing that Filipinos overlook when they are trying to financially prepare for their trips. Alright, let's get into the first step of this 4-step budgeting plan, which is that get clear on your desired outcome from solo traveling and your itinerary. It's really good that before you book the trip, before you decide to spend money on this trip, because it's gonna cost you a lot, it's for you to think about, like, for what purpose do you want that? How is it aligned with the vision that you want for your life? How would you like to feel before, during, and after your trip? Because the worst thing that could happen, right, is that, oh yeah, like, I just want to go on this trip because everyone says, like, you're supposed to go there, it looks fun, and then afterwards when you get home you feel guilty because you spent that amount of money and you weren't really financially prepared to make that trip happen. So it's super important that before you book any trip, whether it's for solo or not, is for you to think about, like, what's your desired outcome out of it? Like, what's your intention for making that trip happen for yourself? It may seem like a no-brainer when I say it this way, but I just want you really to take your time and reflect, like, are you doing it for you? Or are you trying to prove something to someone else? Or to something to society? Or something to post about, and then someone else will give you that validation because you made this trip happen? Because what I want is for you to be 100% intentional and purposeful and mindful that you are booking this trip, you are planning for this travel destination because it's something that you've always wanted to do for yourself. Like, for me, it was really a milestone that I wanted to have on my 27th birthday, that I'd be able to make this trip happen as a full-time entrepreneur and content creator. And I always had this desire to travel solo, even like if the pandemic didn't happen. It was something that I always wanted to do, but then it got disrupted, as we know. So for me, the purpose really was for me to embrace discomfort, because I know it was going to be uncomfortable doing it on my own. I have to rely on myself. I have to be self-sufficient. I have to be cautious of what's happening around me. I have to take care of myself. And honestly, it's kind of like a solo bachelorette party for myself, because as you guys know, I am going to get married soon this year, end of this year. And it really helps that when you're clear on your desired outcome from the trip, that you also become clear on your desired itinerary. For me, I just really wanted to have the luxury of doing nothing, but at the same time, like, a little bit uncomfortable that I have to do things by myself, be self-sufficient and all of that. So for me, it really was, I wanted to go to an exclusive beach resort where I could feel comfortable being by myself, that I'm in a safe environment, right? I also didn't want to have the pressure of having a strict itinerary either. I just wanted to have a really slow itinerary and trip. Like, I just wanted to be like, wow, I just have the free time to look at the beach today. I have the luxury of doing nothing. I just have the luxury of feeling the warmth of the sun on my face and just lying down here and just feeling and seeing the clear waters. Like, I just wanted to like really absorb my surroundings and not thinking that I have to go to point A to point B to point C, like, and go to the different all kinds of stores. I just wanted to simply be. So this is important when it comes to thinking about your budget, because if you're not clear on your desired outcome, then you're gonna want to do all the trips, to do all the activities, to do all the tours, to do everything all at once, because you weren't clear on your desired outcome in the first place. Because for me, I would have gotten distracted about like, oh, maybe I should go to this specific resort and then this resort so I could do all the activities. Like, I was clear that I didn't want to do that. It was easy for me to streamline what my budget would look like, what would be my minimum, my maximum, and knowing that I wouldn't miss out, I wouldn't regret anything, because I know that I planned this trip on my terms. Step 2 for this budgeting plan when you do solo travels is that make sure you set aside a fixed savings amount monthly for your travel fund and emergency fund. So this is super important, because this will create the balance that we are looking for, that we're able to enjoy our trip because we saved up for it intentionally, and at the same time we're not gonna worry about back home that like, will I be able to pay my bills? Will I be able to take care of myself if something unforeseen happens, if an emergency happens? Because you know, there are things out of our control in our life that we wouldn't be able to plan for, right? Because what if you go on your trip, you enjoy it, and then when you get back home, there's an emergency, and that yung relaxed state mo, yung refreshed state mo from your travel would be taken away when you get back home, because you're worried about the bills, you're worried about, will I be able to pay for certain things, will I be able to sustain the lifestyle, or did I just drain out my savings just to go on this 5-day trip? So leading up to my trip, I had my travel fund that allowed me to pay for my accommodation, for my plane ticket, and at the same time I also had contingency for my pocket money on that day itself, because I can't go to my trip empty-handed for emergencies as well. Like, I'm gonna pay for food there, or if something happens and I need cash, I still wanted to have enough buffer funds with me when I go there. Quick side story, I remember when I had my El Nido trip like way years ago, and then naubusan ako ng cash because hindi ako nag-prepare ng cash. Walang ATM around, para nagka-brown out yung buong town ng El Nido. I couldn't withdraw cash from an ATM, and so that was a lesson learned for me, that I need to have actual cash with me just in case brownouts happen. And then second, I also have my credit card for things like, I don't want to use up my cash entirely, because that's saved up for like emergencies that things happen. And at the same time, I know that if I use my credit card, I would be able to use my travel fund to pay off my credit card bill in the next billing statement. So I honestly suggest that before you go on your trip, that you have at least 3 months of your emergency fund ready, so that when you get home, you feel secured, you don't have to worry about if something unforeseen happens. And at the same time, you also have a separate travel fund from your emergency fund, okay, that you feel good that you can spend this amount because this is what it's meant for. Okay, so now you may be thinking like, how do I know how much travel fund I have to save for? So that goes back to the first step, right? It's because alam mo na yung itinerary mo, because you got clear on your desired outcome, on what you want to make the most out of with your itinerary. Then you can work backwards from there. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I book an exclusive beach resort so I feel safe and comfortable going there by myself. And then second, I also wanted to at least have one island hopping tour, and then I want to make sure that I have money for food there. I want to enjoy good food, and I also wanted to make sure that my flight is covered and things like that. So those are the things that I had to sum up, and then from there, alam ko na kung ano yung total na amount that I need for my travel fund. So as you can tell, that's why it's so important that you start off with step 1 first, so that you'd know how much you'd be needing for your travel fund in such a way that you are not overwhelmed. I need to save up so much, so big, because you have to do so many activities. But then when you think about, does each activity really align with your desired outcome, with your own vision for this trip? So in the process of you saving up for a travel fund and emergency fund, know that if you are not excited about saving for this trip, if you're not excited about setting aside your savings for these things, then you might be doing it wrong, because you shouldn't feel bad about it, or you shouldn't feel deprived, you shouldn't feel restricted, you shouldn't feel like sinasakal mo yung sarili mo just to make sure you save a bigger amount. There's a way to strike a balance between the two. For me, while I was saving up for the trip, I still wanted to make sure that I enjoy my weekly rewards, which is every weekend I dine out or I enjoy takeout food because I just love food. So I still wanted to strike that balance that I am rewarding myself well on a monthly basis, and at the same time I'm setting aside the right amount of savings for my travel fund and emergency fund every single month that don't make me feel deprived. It's 100% possible for you to feel excited to save if your mindset is right. If you want to learn more about this, as always, you can get a lot of juicy information in my free 60-minute training. You can check the link in my bio on how I share that you can strike a balance of mastering the right spending and saving habits with just one income stream. So make sure you check it out because I love hearing all of your takeaways and how valuable it has been and how it's been the wake-up call that you needed in handling your finances. So make sure you check it out. You can also tag me on Instagram when you do watch it. I love hearing from you, and I have a feeling that it's going to be so impactful when you do watch that. Step 3, and this is the most common thing that Filipinos overlook but they don't realize it's super important when you're financially preparing yourself for a solo trip or just any travel, which is notice and reframe your limiting beliefs around spending money. Because here's the thing, it's so easy to Google like how to save for a travel, how to be financially prepared to budget for a solo trip and all of that. Like those are things that you easily Google. But what you can never Google, what you can never see online are those limiting beliefs that are constantly repeating in your head that are subconsciously dictating how you should or should not spend. So for instance, you already know like, okay, Nick, travel fund, emergency fund, I got it, okay? But then in the process of saving up for your travel fund, what if at the back of your head you're like, but do I really deserve this? Do I really deserve to enjoy? How come I feel guilty setting aside this money for myself? Shouldn't I give this to someone else? Shouldn't I treat someone else? That's a really huge amount of money to spend on myself, right? Like, isn't that selfish? Shouldn't I just save this for my future retirement? What if I relapse from this? What if after I go on this trip, I would just spend all of my savings and nothing would be left? Like, those are things that you just go on this mind drama spiral without even realizing it. Okay, that's why it's super key in this step is that you notice them. You notice them because these are things that are subconsciously on autopilot. They're just constantly filling up mental space, mental energy, and before you know it, you're like, I shouldn't spend on that trip anymore. I should just like give it to someone else. Maybe I should just spend it on my family. Maybe I should just set it aside. Like, that's a scary amount of money. Why would I spend that on myself? This is why this is the biggest roadblock, the mindset block that people don't notice when they are trying to save up for a trip or at least trying to spend a huge amount of money for a trip. That's why it's super clear at the start. You get really clear on your desired outcome for this trip. It's not something that like, boom, snap of the fingers, I'm just gonna decide to like go Palawan next month. That's what you see on social media. It's like people traveled here, traveled there, and you're like, I can do that too. Like, yeah, absolutely. But what you don't see is what you didn't see with me is that I saved up for the trip for months. I also had to coach myself, my mind. I had to really reflect on the beliefs and thoughts about money that came up for me while I was saving up this huge amount. I'm like, ooh, that's a big amount. Like, should I really do that? You know, ultimately what made me decide is that I really want to set an example to my people that they can feel good about spending for themselves without destroying their finances, without sacrificing, compromising their financial peace. That's what I wanted to set an example for. I wanted to make sure that this is something that will inspire you, inspire my clients, that, hey, you know what? I can do that too. So that's how I reframed my thoughts, my beliefs around money when I was going through it myself. Sometimes the misconception is like, oh, okay, I'll just set aside like 5,000 a month. I got this, I got that. And then when you see it growing and you see that amount in your bank account, that's when the real work comes in. Because that's when you're going to have all those mindset drama of like, that's a huge amount. Should I spend it on myself? Do I really deserve that? Shouldn't I use that for something else? That's why I get so passionate about coaching my clients to unlearn and reframe these limiting beliefs about money that are subconsciously telling them what to do, so that you could really enjoy saving up for that trip. And when you get on that trip, that you feel good about it, that you're not guilty, you're not worrying about your finances back home, but rather you are enjoying every single moment that you are on that trip. I want to give an example from my client Dean. So I had a recent check-in with her recently, and she shared like, I'm so proud of myself because I decided to go on this trip to Baguio, and sabi niya na if I didn't enroll in the program, if she wasn't coached about it before, that maybe she wouldn't have gone on that trip. Maybe she would have some thoughts about going on that trip, but I'm so glad to see her that she was so happy, that she was filled with joy, that she was able to just enjoy, you know, going with her friends and just enjoying to spend money. You know, there really has to be a balance of like, I get to feel good about spending money, and I also get to feel good about saving the money that I need because I know it's gonna help me fund my dreams. I'm so proud of her because she shared that she's remained, you know, consistent in having those mindful spending and saving habits, and she was empowered to stand on her own feet and make her own decisions around money, and know that she can give herself permission to not to feel guilty, to just enjoy spending because she was intentional about it. And this is what I love seeing with my clients, when they really get to find purpose and excitement about life again because they're spending their money right, and also saving with purpose. So as always, if you want to learn more about my one-on-one coaching program, you can check the link in my bio on the amazing stories and breakthroughs of my clients who are able to realize that they don't have to worry about every single spending. They don't have to track every single expense. They just need to have purpose and to have clear intentions about their why behind saving, their why behind spending. My slots for June and July for one-on-one coaching are already booked out, so my next available slot would be August and September if you are interested. Fourth and final step in your budgeting plan for your solo travels is that make sure that you identify what's necessary versus noise. This is super crucial before, like when you're planning your trip and, you know, wanting to book those accommodations or like tickets, and also still crucial during, like while you are traveling, and also after. So let me give you some examples. So for me, like leading up to my trip, I know that it's gonna be an amount that I'm saving up for, and it's also an amount that I wanted to prioritize to make sure that I make this trip happen and that I still have pocket money during my trip, because I didn't want to feel deprived during my trip. Okay, for me, it was in my plan that I would buy swimsuits before I would travel, because I wanted to feel comfortable about the swimsuits I was wearing by myself. I took a lot of pictures, as you saw in my TikTok, Instagram, and so in order for me to do that, I wanted to do it like at least 1 to 2 months before my trip. I want to be so intentional about when I would buy these swimsuits, so that I know that I would be using it for the purpose of going on my trip and not just for the sake of on shopping high na parang, oh, finally I could buy clothes, because it's been a long time since I bought clothes. So I wanted to make sure that this was a necessary purchase for me to have. So I definitely fell into the trap of buying a lot of unnecessary purchases before a trip. So that's what I would consider noise. So in my Bali trip that I had, I shared this before in one of my videos on things that I stopped buying. So dati nag-shopping extravaganza ako ng bongga sa Taytay. Cheap nga siya, pero dami kong binili, tapos hindi naman nag-last. So for me, that's an example of noise. Okay, parang masyado lang tuwa na, oh, I can have different outfits for pictures and all of that back then. And so this time around, I wanted to make sure that I'm buying pieces that I can wear again. And it's not just for the purpose of, I want to have variety of clothes for pictures. Ang babaw kasi, di ba? Another thing that I want to distinguish what's necessary versus noise is that airport food. Okay, I was there like 2 hours before my plane. I was there like 2 hours before my flight because I had to check in my baggage, and then I just want to make sure na hindi ako malate kasi ayoko masayang mamaya hindi ako makarating on time. So you're gonna be sitting for a long time in the airport, and the tendency is like you're gonna get hungry and all of that. So what I did actually was nagbaon ako. So I think I was there at the airport at like 7 a.m. So nagbaon ako ng breakfast. So I cooked tocino and garlic brown rice and my favorite egg Okay? So, niluto ko siya the night before so that I just had to microwave it and bring it with me to the airport. And then, while I was also getting a bit hungry during the flight, nasa loob na ako ng eroplano, I also had snacks with me. So, I brought these like yummy nuts and like assorted nuts that were so good. And at the same time, alam ko they're healthy snacks rather than I would like binge on like chips or like expensive food in the actual airplane. So if you enjoyed my tips in this video, then you can also check out this video where I shared how I funded my dream life today, because I shared a lot of money tips in my journey where I had a lot of mistakes and lessons, and I have a feeling you're gonna take a lot of tips there as well. So see you there.